Oh hey, it's Wes, and it's finally time to talk about one of my personal most anticipated products of the year, the Hollyland Lark 150. Now I'm just not talking out of my butt here. This is something I have been waiting for so long, someone to fix the problems that all wireless lav mics have. And Hollyland has turned some knobs and done some creativity, and honestly taken some ideas from something else. But I can't quite think of what it is that they got these ideas from. But anyway, moving right on, we have right here on my table the receiver. It's a little bit wider than some other receivers, and also you might notice it's not mounted on my camera. I am currently using this, it's just on a longer wire so it can get back to my camera. It's not touching any other wires, so we shouldn't have too much interference going on here. My transmitter here, the unit itself, we are set to an output level of 16, which is pretty high, but on my camera, we're all the way down at an input gain of 3. So we should be getting a pretty strong, clear signal right now. I have the unit itself set to mono output, and that's the great advantage of these dual mic systems. You can do mono or stereo. So if I wanted to have an interview, I could pull out the other lav mic and have completely separate audio channels going into this thing. Left and right, one for each person, which is fantastic. It's also great to be able to switch back and forth. But let's get right into it. Let's get to the ratings and see how this thing holds up. Does it live up to the hype? Maybe it's just my own personal hype, but we'll see. All right, so in the box, we have a nice little carry case, which honestly I will never use, but sure, thanks. We have wind muffs for the actual transmitters themselves, not so much for the lav lapel mics. They just have the little foamies. We have a bunch of extra foamies. We have 2 sets of lapel mics in here. And the wires, the TRS adapter and the TRRS, so one for camera, one for mobile. It also comes with 1 USB-C cable, just one. I think the Rode Wireless Go came with 2, but there was a reason for that. Now if we look at the units themselves, they are plastic, they're very lightweight, and that might be an issue further on in our video, but we won't talk about that right now. The case that it comes in, and we'll talk more about the case real soon, is very solid, feels great, has grippy feet. The lav mics themselves have a nice, thin, very flexible cable, not the thinnest though. The head of the lav mic is not the smallest lav mic head. Looks like this foamy was actually slightly glued to it. Maybe I'm not supposed to take that off. Wire feels great, not too stiff. The knobs on this device right here feel fantastic. The clickability, also great. You have the hot shoe clip, also feels fantastic. And have a very positive feedback when you're plugging and unplugging these devices. So overall, I'm going to give the build quality a 9 out of 10. Feels a little bit light, but honestly, I think that these are very well made. They are very well considered designs. So moving on to the feature set, and this is where things get honestly really exciting. So the lav transmitters themselves, those have a 4-hour battery life. Not the best. 7.5-hour battery life for the receiver, but honestly, who cares if the receiver has that much battery life when the transmitters don't? So yeah, it's nice having a little more battery in this larger device, but not that important. The important thing is this case right here, honestly, like an AirPods case, magnetically cinches these devices in and immediately starts charging them. So this case here can charge all of the devices 2.5 times. So you don't have to go plug them all in, find an outlet, find a charger, or even a wireless battery bank, boom, it's all right there. And the case honestly isn't that big. We got a lot going on here. So that's a great design. And you have a little status LED telling you what's going on in there. One disadvantage that we have in generally always being in the charging case is that this will actually prematurely wear down your batteries. As I've mentioned in past videos, it's good to not always have your devices charging, for one, and for two, to not always have your devices at 100% charge. Now, I'll get back to you further down the road whether or not this prematurely degrades the batteries inside these devices. Especially since these are small batteries, they will be less resistant to these effects. But again, they're fine for now. I'll let you know long term later on. But that's still not my favorite part about this case. My second favorite part, still not going to the favorite yet, is that as soon as you take the devices out, they turn on. As soon as you put them in, they turn off. So you don't have to hold down those buttons. Again, if you're doing things fast, this can save you a lot of time, especially if you're doing things a lot. So quick on, quick off if you're using the case, that's fantastic. Again, not my favorite part of the case. My favorite part is right here. One USB-C port. There is only one charging port for this entire affair. With some devices, you have a charging port on both transmitters, and you end up having to use 2 receivers, which I have definitely done in the past. You have 4 things to charge. And some of those things can take a long time to charge. So you've got wires up the wazoo trying to get this thing going. This thing simplifies, streamlines everything. I love that. As far as the other features go, you have a standard 2.4 gigahertz transmission system. It's not UHF, that has its ups and downs. We'll talk more about that in the future. Charging everything can take about 2.5 hours, which is actually faster than a lot of other systems, which can take 4 to 6 hours easy. And as is standard, you have a lav mic built into these transmitters, so you can use them with a wired lav or just on their own. And honestly, these are lighter than I think any other transmitter that I have seen, and I have used a lot. I have some more videos coming out soon. On the transmitter itself, there is no screen. There's just a couple status lights. That's a little bit disappointing, but since these are the smallest and lightest, I can forgive that for now. On the receiver, you have a lovely color screen, great working knobs, quick mute, and you have a headphone jack. Some good features, not all the features though, but honestly the best features to have. It's an 8 out of 10. Sound quality. Now, I don't want to get all high and mighty and say that I am the arbiter of what sounds good and what doesn't sound good. So far, we have been operating completely without equalization. I'm going to try to put an equalizer on it here. So we'll see what that sounds like with a little bit of tooling going on here. Let me know how you think that sounds. Let me know how you think the overall sound sounds. But overall, we have a pretty flat curve, a little bit mid-heavy, a tiny bit muddy, but it's easily editable. I find that there's a little bit of sibilance going on there that's a bit excessive, that's hard to get out. So overall, I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10 for sound quality. It's not the very best, but it's also solid and easily edited and can be used unedited in a pinch. Usability. Without even specifically having a menu inside the device, it's easy to access all the controls. As you can see, the volume buttons are easily changed right here. With manual control dials, you can mute them from here. Also mute them from the transmitters themselves. But if we want to go into a different mode entirely, all you have to do is hold down either of the volume buttons, and that will switch us into the next mode, which is the safety mode. So now one of the mics is set to -6 dB. So they're both recording the same subject, that would be me. And in case something really loud happens, the second one won't be peaked and won't be ruined. So let's go to the next mode, which is stereo mode. Again, just hold down a button, then you're in stereo. Now each of these are recording to a separate channel, both at the same level this time. And then we can hold down that button one more time to go back into mono mode. I think that we know that this is already probably the most usable lav mic system. The only issue that we have and usability includes our reception. Let's do our reception test. Let's go for a walk outside. Today we have the Hollyland Lark 150. Very exciting. Been waiting to try this one out for quite some time. Let's go for a little walk here. Again, this transmitter is just hanging out on my front pocket right here. But I'm facing away, turning back again. Now I'm going to go into the corner behind the house here. So we've got a few layers. Yeah, the door and some spill pipes. Who knows? Maybe this will work, maybe it won't. So I'm at a decent distance away right now for like a wedding ceremony or something. I'm maybe 40 feet away. So you want to put your camera, set it up out of the way of all of the congregants. And this is a decent distance away. And sometimes people will move around. Sometimes things will change. You never know. A lot of the time with these transmitters, it's the little things. It's not entirely the distance, but just the little movements where it gets obscured from time to time. All right, we're going to trudge through the harsh Canadian wilderness here. And I was going to say this is a uniquely Canadian situation. Hard-packed icy snow, but I did keep fortunate. For some snow here, much as we don't like it, but not part of the. All right, so now I'm what I consider to be maximum distance. Now I know Hollyland has a lot of experience with wireless transmission, and not just that, but wireless transmission of much higher bitrate signals. So this is just audio. Hollyland, of course, is known for their HD video transmission services. So if you need to get a high quality HD stream to another monitor, whether it's on the other side of the room or if you want to check out my review, it can be at the other side of a building through many walls. So they know how to get a signal through, but this transmitter obviously is much smaller, much lower power than their video transmission services. So we'll see how this goes. Almost back to the cameras here. And again, a lot of the time, it's not about your absolute distance. Sometimes when you're just this close with some transmitters, things can cut out if you're just moving around, things are being obscured by your body. So I want to make sure it doesn't do that. And then we're going to go in behind the camera. And it's not just a matter of being behind the transmitter, because you want it to be able to work from both directions, but also there is a car immediately behind the cameras here. So I'm going down behind, turning around. Now I'm facing forward, so the signal is only traveling through the car. Standing back up, walking back around the car. Hopefully it worked through some of that, but who knows, maybe it didn't. Coming back around, and here we are. Back where we started. And that was our test of the Hollyland. Covered some ground. Let's go back to the studio, see how that did. There you have it. At a distance, the reception does not hold up very well. Let's do a regular reception test right at the table at a more reasonable distance. So at this time we're using the lapel mic on the Hollyland Lark 150. But what does it sound if we switch over to the included capsule mic on the transmitter? Let's pop it out. Okay, so this is the sound on the transmitter itself. Let me know if it sounds any different to you. Again, this is all unequalized. This is just what it sounds like. And sure, we'll take it for another spin. And check, 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 check. And there you go. Let's keep going. And there you have it. So at a reasonable distance, the reception for this is quite solid. As you can see right here, we're doing fine. Let's back up. We're going to do a turn it around, check that out. So it holds up just fine if you're in a normal circumstance, but at a distance, it doesn't really hold up to UHF transmitter devices. They can be similarly small, honestly. Usability is only an 8 out of 10. And it's hard to give this any knocks on usability because that's where this thing excels, but you just don't get the strongest transmission signal. Value. So this thing comes in at $330, which honestly was a little bit less than I expected. So value-wise, from the bottom of the end, you have the Sony Tiny, which I've reviewed on this channel. You have the Comica Boom X, which is $250. You have the Movo WMX and WMX Duo 20 and 1, $180, $200. Then you have the Saramonic devices that are $250, $300, $400. They run the gamut. And then there's the ubiquitous Rode Wireless Go, which if you get 2 kits and the lavs, which is what you get in this kit right here, it adds up to $560. That's a bit rich compared to this. And then the Deity Connect Duo is $670. It's considered pretty solid, but costs way more than this. So this isn't the cheapest, but honestly probably gives you the best bang for your buck. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. So overall, that gives us a score of 40 out of 50. What's that score mean? I don't know. It's just a bunch of numbers. But overall, love this system. I'm gonna keep trying it out. Maybe I'll end up giving you a long-term review on this. It's not one of those ones that I'm gonna just try and then toss by the wayside, because I do love using this, even though it does have some downsides. So let me know down in the comments what you think about this and what you think I should be texting next. I have a few more on the way though, so it won't be long. Until next time, let's go take some photos.